Sir, I'm going to need to see your immigration papers.
I'm a civil engineer on lunch break. Stopped me at a gas pump. What's the reason?
Your demeanor matches a profile we've been briefed on. You looked evasive.
I look tired. It's 105 degrees and I've been on site since 5 a.m.
The body camera light started blinking red at 2:11 p.m. right there at a dusty gas station just outside Phoenix. Cars flying past. Heat rising off the blacktop. Phones already coming out. A black man in a faded purple Suns t-shirt stood with his hands relaxed at his sides while a white police officer told him, loud and slow, "I'm gonna need to see your immigration papers." The man didn't raise his voice, didn't curse, didn't flinch. He simply asked one question. Why? That single word turned a routine stop into a public humiliation that would soon tear through the city like fire. Every stare, every lie, every assumption was caught on camera. And what the officers didn't know, what made this moment explosive, was that the man they were cornering had helped design the very freeway roaring behind them. And by the time the truth came out, careers would end, reputations would burn, and one quiet man would walk away having proven something that should have never needed proof. First CTA. Before we go any further, take a second and subscribe to the channel if you believe these stories matter, and drop a comment telling us where you're watching from. Now, let's get into it. Don't get smart with me. Officer Ryan Mallory's voice was flat, sharp, practiced. One hand rested on his belt. The other hovered near his radio. His body cam tilted slightly down, framing the black man's chest like evidence. "I asked you a simple question," Mallory said. "Where are you from?" The man looked at him, slow and steady. "Phoenix," he said. Mallory scoffed. "I meant before that." A pickup truck rumbled past, wind shaking the loose posters on the gas station wall. A woman pumping gas paused. A teenager leaned out of a car window with his phone already recording. Officer Brett Kincaid, younger, tighter, more nervous, shifted his feet. His fingers tapped his belt like he was itching for something to happen. "Just answer him," Kincaid snapped. "This doesn't have to be hard." The man exhaled through his nose. "It's already hard," he said quietly. "You're asking me questions you wouldn't ask anyone else." Mallory's jaw tightened. "Your demeanor fits a profile," he said. That was the word, profile. His name was Darius Cole. 38 years old. Civil engineer. Born and raised in South Phoenix. Darius stood 6'2", broad shoulders softened by years of long shifts and longer commutes. His boots were scuffed steel-toe, the kind men wear when they build things that last longer than they do. His son's shirt was faded from too many washes, the logo cracked but still proud. He looked tired. Not weak, not scared, just tired. The kind of tired that comes from carrying yourself carefully your whole life so nobody feels threatened by your existence. Darius had stopped for gas on his way back from a site visit north of the city. He had spent the morning walking concrete, checking stress lines, arguing with contractors who cut corners. Real work. Quiet work. The kind of work nobody notices unless something goes wrong. He hadn't noticed the patrol car at first, hadn't noticed Mallory watching him from across the lot. But Mallory had noticed him. A black man. Alone. Old truck. Work boots. Standing too calm. That was all it took. "Step away from the vehicle," Mallory ordered. Darius blinked. "Why?" "Because I said so." Darius stepped back, slow, hands open. He knew the rules. He had learned them early. Move slow. Speak clear. Don't argue too much. Kincaid circled behind him like a restless dog. "You own this truck?" Kincaid asked. "Yes." "Proof?" "It's registered in my name." "Where?" "In the glove box." Mallory nodded to Kincaid. "Go get it." Darius didn't move. "I don't consent to searches," he said calmly. "You haven't told me why I'm being detained." Mallory's face hardened. "Listen," he said, stepping closer. "You're making this harder than it needs to be." Across the lot, Officer Thomas Wilkes leaned against the patrol car, older, heavier, smirk tugging at his mouth. He hadn't said a word. He didn't need to. He enjoyed the tension like background noise. Wilkes muttered just loud enough, "Always gotta make a scene." Darius heard it. A man filling his tank nearby shook his head but said nothing. A woman whispered to her friend. Phone stayed up. Nobody stepped in. Mallory lowered his voice, like he was doing Darius a favor. "You don't look like you belong out here," he said. "So I'm trying to figure out why you're here." Darius swallowed. "I'm here because I need gas," he said. "Same as everyone else." Kincaid laughed. "Yeah. You work construction or something?" "I'm an engineer." Kincaid snorted. "Sure you are." That laugh hit harder than the questions. Mallory folded his arms. I'm gonna ask again. Where are your papers? Darius stared at him. What papers? You know exactly what I mean. I'm an American citizen. Prove it. Silence dropped heavy between them. The freeway roared behind the station, lanes of concrete stretching into the distance. Darius glanced at it for half a second, then back at Mallory. I don't have to prove my right to exist, he said. Mallory's hand tightened on his belt. Careful, he warned. Wilkes chuckled under his breath. That's when Darius realized this wasn't about gas, that wasn't about suspicion, that wasn't about safety. It was about control. Mallory believed he could read people. Believed calm was guilt. Believed confidence without permission was disrespect. And Darius, quiet, grounded, unshaken, was breaking his script. Turn around, Kincaid said suddenly. Darius looked at him. Am I being arrested? Turn around. The cameras around them moved closer. Someone yelled. He didn't do nothing. Mallory raised his voice. Back up. All of you. Darius felt the heat on his neck. Not from the sun. From history. From knowing how fast moments like this went bad. He turned slowly, hands still open. I'm cooperating, he said. Mallory leaned in close, voice low and mean. You people always say that. That's when something shifted inside Darius. Not anger. Not fear. Resolve. He turned his head just enough to look Mallory in the eye. You don't know me, he said. But you're about to. Mallory scoffed. Is that a threat? No, Darius said. It's a fact. A black SUV pulled into the station then. Government plates. Cling. Quiet. Out of place. Wilkes straightened up. The driver stepped out, Latino, mid-40s, crisp button-down, badge clipped to his belt. He froze when he saw Darius. Decoy? The man said, disbelief in his voice. Darius closed his eyes for a second. Mallory turned. Sir, step back. This is an active investigation. The man ignored him. You good? He asked Darius. Darius nodded once. I'm fine. Mallory's brows furrowed. Who are you? The man finally looked at him. My name is Miguel Arroyo, he said. Arizona Department of Transportation. Mallory blinked. So? Arroyo pointed past the station toward the freeway. So this man, he said slowly, is the lead civil engineer on the I-17 expansion project you're standing next to. Silence hit like a dropped plate. Kincaid's mouth opened. Close. Wilkes' smirk faded. Arroyo wasn't done.
He's also the reason that overpass didn't collapse last summer, he added. And the reason traffic deaths dropped 20% on this stretch. Mallory laughed nervously. That doesn't change anything. Arroyo stepped closer. It changes everything, he said. And this footage is already uploading. Mallory looked at the blinking red light on his chest. For the first time, doubt crept into his eyes. Darius finally turned around, facing them fully now. This freeway, he said quietly, nodding behind him, was built to move people forward. He paused. Funny how some of you are still stuck. Sirens wailed in the distance. More cars slowed. More cameras pointed in. Mallory opened his mouth to speak, and that's when the call came through his radio. Mallory, dispatch said. Stand by. Supervisor en route. Do not disengage. Darius exhaled slowly, eyes calm, hands steady. The storm hadn't even started yet. The wind kicked up dust across the gas station lot as the radio on Officer Mallory's chest crackled again. Supervisor 2 minutes out, dispatch said. Mallory didn't answer right away. He stared at Darius like the ground had shifted under his boots and he didn't know how to stand anymore. Brett Kincaid took a step back without realizing it. His hand slipped away from his belt. The confidence drained out of his face fast, like air from a tire. Thomas Wilkes looked away, suddenly interested in the sky, the pumps, anything but the man he had just been smirking at. Phones were everywhere now. This wasn't a private moment anymore. This was a reckoning. Miguel Arroyo stood beside Darius, calm, steady like a wall. You can uncuff him, Arroyo said. Mallory bristled. He's not cuffed. Then step back, Arroyo replied. You're done here. Mallory swallowed. You don't give me orders. Arroyo nodded. No, but your supervisor does. And he's already seen this live feed. That landed. Mallory glanced again at his body cam. The red light blinked back, steady and unforgiving. Every word, every look, every pause. Darius hadn't moved. He hadn't raised his voice. He hadn't insulted anyone. He didn't need to. The truth was doing all the work. A black sedan pulled in behind the SUV. Then another. A woman stepped out of the first car. Tall, Sharp suit. Gray hair pulled tight. Her badge caught the sun. Captain Elaine Mercer, she said, walking straight toward Mallory. Phoenix PD. Mallory stiffened. Captain. She didn't look at him right away. She looked at Darius. Mr. Cole, she said. I'm sorry you were treated this way. Darius met her eyes. I'm used to it. That hurt more than anger would have. Mercer turned to Mallory. Explain. Mallory opened his mouth. Closed it. Tried again. He matched a profile, he said weakly. Mercer's face hardened. Say it clearly. Mallory hesitated. Cameras leaned in. He didn't look like he belonged. Mercer nodded once, slow. Officer Mallory, she said, this man belongs more to this city than you ever will. She turned to the crowd. Darius Cole is a licensed civil engineer, she said loudly. He has worked on 6 major infrastructure projects across this state. Bridges, roads, schools. Projects that keep people alive. She looked back at Mallory. And you stopped him for pumping gas. A murmur rolled through the crowd. Shame. Anger. Disbelief. Kincaid's face went red. Wilkes looked like he wanted to disappear. Officer Mallory, Mercer said, you are relieved of duty effective immediately. Mallory's breath caught. Captain. Badge, she said. He froze. I said badge. Slowly Mallory unclipped it. His hands shook as he placed it in her palm. The metal clicked softly. That sound echoed louder than any siren. Kincaid, Mercer said. You're suspended pending review. Kincaid stammered. I was just following. Quiet, she snapped. Wilkes didn't even wait to be called. He took his hat off, eyes down. The crowd didn't cheer. They didn't need to. The silence was heavier than applause. Mercer turned to Darius again. Is there anything you'd like to say? She asked. Darius thought for a moment. He looked at Mallory. Not with hate. Not with victory. With tired honesty. I build things, Darius said. Things people trust with their lives. He gestured toward the freeway. Concrete doesn't care what you look like. Gravity doesn't care where you're from. Steel either holds, or it doesn't. He paused. I just wish people worked the same way. No yelling. No insults. Just truth. A woman in the crowd wiped her eyes. A man lowered his phone, jaw tight. Mallory couldn't look up. The officers were gone within minutes. The gas station felt quieter somehow. Like the air had finally been let out. Arroyo clapped Darius on the shoulder. You okay? Darius nodded. Yeah. Coffee? Arroyo asked. On me. Darius smiled faintly. Rain check. He walked back to his truck. The same old truck. Same scuffed boots. Same faded shirt. Nothing about him had changed. Everything else had. As he pulled away, cars on the road slowed. A few people waved. One man saluted. Darius didn't wave back. He just drove. Later that night, the footage went everywhere. News stations. Social media. Courtrooms. It would lead to lawsuits. Training changes. Resignations. But that wasn't what mattered most. What mattered was a simple truth Darius carried with him as he drove home under the streetlights. You should never have to prove you belong. But when you do, let the truth speak louder than your anger. If this story moved you, subscribe to the channel for more real stories that matter. And answer this in the comments. Do you think moments like this change anything? Or do they just expose what's already there? We're listening.